Dear white folks, don't question a person of color's ethnicity because you don't have a culture of your own. Figure out your own shit. We're not here to make you feel better about your lack of identity. I'm Middle Eastern. Also, Jewish. The shoving comment is a joke. There are white people from white countries with dark features. Race is not genetic. Race is a social construct. This is an unhelpful tangent. I just wish there were some way to destabilize the concept of whiteness itself in a meaningful way that wouldn't also derail the very important work of anti-racism. Yes, that's because wealthy Anglo-Saxon Protestant ethnicity reads as ethnically white, whereas others within racial whiteness read as something else. Italians, Slavs, Greeks, etc. could likely ethnically identify with those categories and not white. Race is made up, and that's why the lines are blurred. The reality is, whiteness is a construct that is created and upheld by particular groups. Jews historically haven't had agency in whether they are counted as white or not, and also are only as white as the wealthy Anglo-Saxon Protestant dominant society allows. Your friendly daily reminder that race is a social construct, and whiteness is as socially constructed as any other race. The reality is, race and everything around it is socially constructed, and I think a lot of what the convo internally in Jewish context is about is Jews of color are looking for a way to frame their experiences of race in terms of whiteness because other language just doesn't exist. Wahahaha, but I'm Jewish, so like everyone just thinks this is the Jewish side coming out, and I'm like, nah fam, other than the skin, I look like my dad. Because they also hate women and want to punish them with childbirth, not to mention their whole worry that white people will no longer exist someday, good riddance, white people fucked up the earth enough. While real Americans hate bigotry and these fucking clowns, because we are the real Americans, and not some mythical white people in a bubble. Here's my hot take on the evening. If we want to counter rising global fascism, we need to recognize we're in the 21st century. That means open borders, universal basic income, early childhood, multilingualism, universal broadband, and shun and deplatform the fucking bigots. Did they speak to his manager? I mean, hello? This is a country where rich white men get away with murder and child sexual abuse. Some old document created by slave owners 200 years ago, that's just for decoration now, isn't going to save us. What the fuck is this guy doing in the Bronx? Whites are a minority here, asshole. Go practice in Armonk or some shit if you only care about precious white babies. I've heard from actual mothers who love their kids but hate motherhood. If people knew how backbreaking and soul-sucking childbearing was, the Earth's population would have died long ago. I'm ready for a good toad daddy. I just want toads. Open to fur babies too, but no kids. You don't need to have children to suddenly give your life meaning, and no matter what your reasons are for choosing #child-free life, it is not wrong, invalid, or selfish. Abortion is fucking excellent because it enables women to decide when, or if, she'll have children, and staying alive rules so hard if she has to develops a medical condition that puts her at risk of dying if she carries to term. I'm a Jewish atheist. Nationalism on your printed tweet, code for white supremacy. Be gone now. Prayers? Gun control. Maybe they can deport the militia's stupid armed white guys and bring us the decent people who want asylum. He is very representative of older Trumpanzees. As a thoughtful, educated senior, I hate to be lumped with these old white people. Every week I work 2 days at a museum in DC, plus I am taking some museum classes. When I see white trash wearing MAGA hats, I'm scared and angry. These people want us dead. It's genetics. You can't expect decency from white people. Keep racism alive. Bring back chain gangs. Suppress everyone who is not white and Christian. That is Jeff Sessions. White privilege, but so many white people don't understand that. And I am white. You serve a party that is racist, anti-Semitic, and homophobic. I am Jewish and don't want you to pretend you care about us. This is paranoid rambling. Anybody who thinks white people are underrepresented at corporations like Google or Facebook has never read the data. Hint, white people are the majority, and Marxism was invented by white people, and mind control doesn't exist outside of movies. Hashtag facts matter. Also, all our immigration laws are written by white people who illegally immigrated to this country and killed natives. That's correct. Time to be proud of real accomplishments, not privileges you were born with. And white people have very little in common other than oppression of minorities. Hardly something to be proud of. Stop whining. Grow the hell up. Hashtag there is no white identity. Hashtag nice try. This is why black people have racial pride and why white people should stick to ethnic, not racial pride. It makes sense. Hashtag radical identity. Great movie. Black people should get free tickets because they deserve to see a proud and great Africa, and white people should be required to watch how great Africa, minus colonialism, might have been. Hashtag Wakanda forever. What hateful scum! Hashtag white supremacists need to grow up. Hashtag Black Lives Matter, fellow white peoples, we must denounce the haters. Hashtag whites against hate. What a poor oppressed white straight male Trump is. Those mean FBI discriminated on him for loving America. Sad. Hashtag oppressed white male. It's the best response when racists bring up black on black crime or black on white crime. Literally 99% of all mass shootings are the actions of white males, and more than 95% of all serial killers are also white and mostly male. I'm a liberal, but a proud Zionist Jew because Israel is known as the Jewish state, a progressive and technological democracy. Hashtag Israel. Dear fellow white people who still haven't gotten it. Well, I didn't vote for him is never the point. Love ya, kid, but catch up. A white woman. I'm really trying to push myself and my fellow white and white-coded women to evolve from a white feminist into an intersectional womanist. Black people are greater than pigeons, who are greater than the shit I took this morning, who are greater than white people. Hello, I'm a fellow white woman, and this was not the time and extremely not the point. If I say white people are trash, yes, I am saying I am trash. I work hard to learn and unlearn the ways in which I am trash. I promise I am not critical of others without being equally critical of myself. Hello, please go fork yourself, a fellow white. I agree with all of this, and I've had to do a lot of the same as a white woman, as we are our own particular breed of awful. Yes, all white people were indoctrinated into the same white supremacist racist society. All white people must actively try to unlearn racism. Hello, friendly neighborhood disabled queer Jewish girl here. Dear fellow white people, I know you were shocked to discover racism is still a thing. Know why? White privilege. People, specifically black people, so no, I can't agree that America was founded by white people for white people. It was. Ever seen white privilege? Tune in to this lady with zero understanding of history. Dumbass, black people suffer from more stress, worse health, less care, less treatment, and worse outcomes than white women. Yes, it is racism. There is no other explanation for these disparities. Even trying to be woke, white people are exhausted from trying to talk to white people about race. This is factually untrue, white supremacist racist propaganda. Then civil rights happened. Then white America incarcerated people of color, ensuring slave labor and no people of color vote. Yes, white people of good conscience need to stand up, march, and be shields for our fellow citizens. As a Jew, I am sickened and appalled by this beyond words. Still too many people voting for white supremacist baby-snatching party for my comfort. I'm a white male journalist who has never paraded around naked in the office or sexually harassed a female colleague. I'm going to put this on my LinkedIn profile since it appears to be a unique skill. Good. I'm sure this brilliant woman has better things to do than listen to the semi-illiterate lies of a dim-witted white supremacist coup leader. Today I'm dressing up as a middle-aged white man whose hair may or may not be thinning a bit on top. I get nervous and don't feel safe when I see a white Christian male on my plane. There ought to be a law. With whiteness defined as culture and not color, as a Jew, I have never felt white in America. Fellow white people really need to pipe the fuck down about their cover change. Shut up. Every day I try to remember I should be proud of myself for sharing my truths. I'm a fat, Jewish, queer, airways poet, and I have much more to write. Sorry, I'm not going to side with spoiled white guys arming themselves to try to maintain some sort of, should be dead, unfair advantage. You know, that's really terrific to read these comments from a wealthy, straight Christian white guy. Is he down in the trenches with us? I'm weird. I know white men, a group I appear to be a member of, had an advantage historically speaking, and that the ship is hopefully righting itself. Sometimes my fingers will get pinched in the boards, but that is nothing compared to what others have suffered through. I loved watching Clint Eastwood last night. He was terrific. So says one rich angry white guy about another RAWG. Here's where I disagree. Don't want to get fired, deplatformed, punched, or vilified? Don't be a Nazi or other white supremacists. It's simple. The Pilgrims weren't legal immigrants, neither were any of the European invaders or their slaves. You know, some of you should quit reaching for things to say. Grab your white hood, scream your rage at President Obama, and own your racism. Also, immigration is not as big as a problem as you have been led to believe. I'm Jewish. I'm a minority who hides in plain sight. We are all in this together. What an incredible twist of fate that calling a white person racist is now on par for some people with using a racist slur. Today I wrote about race relations, was interviewed about the clitoris and importance of #cliteracy. Weird day to be a straight white man. Please, fellow white journalists, nobody try to make a joke about Trump asking if the black reporter is friends with the CBC. Do not. Ugh, white people are the worst. Let's swap out old white slave-owning men for great ideas and values on American cash. No, people can't be racist against white people because racism itself is an institution built to empower whites. White people think one successful black person proves racism is over. I learned this week, after writing about white male privilege in business, that dudes love to write hate mail to us. Should we start calling it the R word? As a Jewish man, am I allowed to call white people racist? Donald Trump's supporters are racist, homophobic, xenophobic. I'm so shocked. I love how people use God-fearing as a substitute for racist. It's really cute that they think we don't notice. Don't forget the racism. Inasmuch as this is a valid tweet, you and I both know it's not really about access, it's about these old white men wanting to control women. I'm a white people, I still have most of my shit, for now. At this point, voter fraud is code for not enough old white people voting for what we want. Straight white Christian men welcome. #America in 5 words. I still don't understand people like this who feel uncomfortable voicing their support for egalitarianism because they're white guys. It's a cop-out. I'm a white guy and have no problem voicing my support. Either be part of the solution or get out of the way. I'm Jewish. I'm from New York and my parents are lawyers. I never accept anything at face value. Our black leaders have been telling white people what's going on for decades. White people need to shut up and listen. A defensive stance means you aren't listening. Stop thinking you aren't racist. You are. It's impossible not to be. I'm so sorry, apologizing for white people again. They are racists, so are all white people to some degree. Why is this so hard for him to admit? The difference is that Republicans like being racists. We white people are all complicit. It is impossible to avoid. We can join the pushback, but until more white people demand change, nothing will change. Me. Attention all white people, we are all racist. White women. But I'm a woke ally. Me. All of us. White men. Not a racist bone. Me. Every last one of us is a racist. Now ask yourself, do you want to stop being a racist? The first step is admitting you are a racist because all of us are. Dear white people, just because you don't think that the KKK are nice people and you think black people should be treated equally doesn't mean you are not a racist. Has he admitted to having a racist outlook? Dear white people, first admit you have a problem, then fix it. Yourself. Dear white people, the proper response today is white people suck. Don't say, not me. Saying white people suck is liberation. Try it. White nationalism is destroying the West. 75% of uneducated white men think they should be able to harass whoever they want. 50% of white women agree. The rest of us say, fuck you, we are not stopping. Ever. And white men. White women have to tell white men that we see them for what they are, and we don't accept their claims to the throne. As a middle-aged white woman, I am invisible. There is nowhere I can't go. Police never stop me. I am the most privileged group, just behind rich white men. I'm Jewish. I'm so mad at the Jews who support this ass. I like to call them out. I'm sad to be white right now. I'm such a nice Jewish girl. Sometimes. Honestly, I've been pretty lucky. I have an awesome spouse and a great kid, and I am white, educated, have a decent job, and live in a liberal area. That's privilege I'll fully acknowledge. Jewish trans woman over here, and absolutely blessed. One of the first places I felt safe being myself was my synagogue. It's an awesome place that, while moderate, has some very liberal individuals, and I've been treated with nothing but respect and dignity. It's time for my fellow white people to recognize the greatest terrorist threat to the world today isn't ISIS or any other Islamic extremist group. It's white Christian fundamentalists. White people are the greatest threat on earth, and we better start fixing our own shit fast. White people shocked. Shocked! I say to find out my fellow white people think wearing blackface is acceptable humor. Not like they had a white guy wear blackface to portray Obama on Saturday Night Live or anything. Oh, wait. Oh my sweet God, fellow white people, get your damn heads out of your asses and pay attention to reality. This dude literally wrote C on a rental application of black folk so as to not give them apartments. Trump has literally paid fines for being racist. What the fuck is wrong with us white people? Jesus Christ, this makes me disgusted with my own ethnicity. Fellow white men, if you are the only demographic on the planet that is in favor of something, you're probably on the wrong side of history. Please let's fix our shit before we're responsible for yet another global atrocity. Holy shit, it finally happened. I was eating lunch and overheard three fellow white men talking politics and importance of voting, and one of them did it. He admitted he wished he hadn't voted for Trump. I mean, you read stories about Trump. With all due respect, as the white man that I am, there is nothing worse in this world right now than old white men. White people don't get to decide if something is racist. If people of color feel something is racist, it is. Full stop. It may not have been meant to be racist, but it is racist. I'm Jewish, so the rise of outwardly proud neo-Nazi Trump groups definitely has me on edge. Listen up, you dumbass white people. Knock this shit off. This is despicable. You do not own the world. You do not have a superior right to exist in public spaces. How about next time you strike up a friendly conversation and get to know the person instead? Jesus. Dear angry white people, get the fuck over yourselves. You do not own the world. These aren't your neighborhoods. Anyone can live there. You and your ilk are the gun nuts who shoot up schools and churches and movie theaters. We don't want your kids around us. Just stop. As a fellow white woman, listen to me when I tell you that you have no business in this conversation except to ask questions if you have them. Learn to listen to our black sisters and support them. This was painful to them. Don't dare try to take that away by whining. This right here, white people, this right here. Get over your goddamn privilege. God damn it with these white women. What? The? Hell? Listen up, white people. Don't touch black people's hair. It's just fucking rude. I cannot believe I have to actually say this. It should be common damn sense. Keep your hands to yourselves. I'm Jewish, so I'm not at all happy about literal Nazis marching on our streets. But they aren't new. What have Democrats done to stop them? As white people, we are all inherently racist. The difference is some of us acknowledge it and some don't. Oh my fucking god, I hate white people and I hope some white supremacist calls me racist. I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. PSA for fellow white people. This as fuck. The only people I would ever call racist are fellow white people. Hey fellow white people, please keep crying about being made fun of. You understand hate and oppression now. Dear fellow white people, please fucking stop. Yo, white people are so fucking fragile, shaking my head. To my fellow white people saying, this isn't the America I grew up in. Yes it is, but our privilege never let us realize it until now. I'm Jewish. All my grandparents are Holocaust survivors. Israel is my favorite place in the world, and I fully support Barack Obama. As a financially privileged white man, I can't fully comprehend the pain and fear millions are feeling today, but I sure as hell will try. It's a scared white man who wears a toupee, spews racist garbage, and blocks people he's scared of. He's a terrible human being, the worst of the old white men. Hashtag alt-right means you're bad at your job and are petrified to compete with more qualified people, so you try and narrow the field to whites only. I think she should face consequences. That said, there is 100% more tolerance for white men who behave badly in America than anybody else. I'm done with old white men. White nationalism is what happens when white people need someone to blame for their personal failures, intellectual laziness, and ineptitude. Fuck Trump. Fuck Russia. Fuck guns. Yes, I'm fucking politicizing all of it. Trump called people who chanted, Jews will not replace us, very fine people. Fuck him and his Democrats hate Jews bullshit. I'm a Jewish Democrat, and the only thing I've ever hated in my life is Donald Trump. Okay, I get that not everyone likes video games, so here's one just for you. There is no white genocide. There is no reverse racism. It's okay to be white, but there's no need to say it because we stand atop centuries of imperialism designed to make it more than just okay. Just like I'm a Jew, but I don't think I should be blamed for Israeli human rights abuses. Jesus! We need a coalition of white people to educate other white people. It's gross and exhausting. In other words, Republicans support rape, racism, misogyny, and homophobia by white men. What the fuck is wrong with white women? The majority of white, heterosexual women are misogynists. They rewarded for their efforts. This is nothing new. Old, white men. And the ones we all need protection from aren't immigrants, they're white American men. No, asshole. People who love our country are patriots. Nationalism is not patriotic. For fuck's sake, what would we do without these privileged white men to lead us? Ha 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 ha. Nope, I'm Jewish. Nothing offensive here. She's calling him out on his political hypocrisy and his misogyny. We are in a war between those who choose to be human and those who choose to be white. In order to effectively stamp out fascism, we must take on all hierarchies at once. White supremacy cannot be disentangled from patriarchy and class oppression. White Lives Matter is a hate group, in case you were wondering. White genocide is good as hell. Hey, I'm a Jewish anarcho-communist. You don't need to explain to me that revolutionary leaders have done things that cannot be repeated. I also hold that capitalism poses the greatest threat to human rights worldwide, and we need to keep organizing against it. Absolutely, and it's horrible. But we live in a racist society. Most white people are racist. Most doctors are racist. We know this. The decent ones learn and work against it. Shouldn't we encourage that? First of all, you can't be racist towards white people. Racism is prejudice plus power. Second, wanting more people of color to be involved has nothing to do with hating white people. It's about creating space for marginalized voices. Like, white people in this country are so racist. It takes a lot of education to unlearn these things, and I don't honestly know if most white people understand when they're being racist at 25. Many never get any anti-racist education. Not that that's okay, just that it's reality. I'm definitely not doing that. I just know that it's a reality that all white people have to be educated on racism, because we don't grow up with a intrinsic understanding of it. I'm certainly not excusing his bigotry. Sounds like you didn't need to chime in the first place. Also, if I, as a white person, can understand that I don't understand the experience of people of color because I'm white, so can other white people. It's not my job to cater to their delusions. But I'm a white person, and while I would never have worn blackface, there were lots of things I was ignorant about in my early 20s and absolutely wouldn't stand by now. We're all racist. We have to be educated to fight against it. I think it's important to champion that. If you support a racist, even if you don't support his racism, you are saying I can overlook his racism because I like XYZ about him. That says his racism isn't as important to me as other issues. And being able to say that comes from privilege and white supremacy. Our society was structured to benefit white people. That's racist. I'm Jewish. I #believe survivors. I fight for survivors. I will put my body on the line for survivors, because I never had a choice in how my body was used to make me into a survivor. #stop Kavanaugh. I'm gonna blame racism. White women care more about gaining power with white men than they do solidarity with non-white women. Was told I was spewing hate for tweeting that #Black Lives Matter. Fellow white people, get your shit together. Love isn't zero sum. Seriously, fellow white people, you get every other word. Why is it such a travesty not to be able to use the N-word? Read this thread. Us white people must reflect on this. How hurtful it is to have to think, what have we done, just for how you're born? This is the question us white people must reckon and grapple with every single day. He's at the #TWIB Nation booth right now, demonstrating some exceptionally tone-deaf white male privilege. White people are not the default. 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 I'm Jewish. Your white male privilege does not intimidate me. I hope to get my period for Christmas. Runner-up Christmas wish? Abortion. It's official. I hate white people. Fucking white people. Young people think they're too cool for voting, being it's for old people, but still want to complain that the country is being fucked up by elderly white men. Grow the fuck up, vote, fix it. Black people are better at everything than white people. Finish the joke. If I ever do have an abortion, I'm going to name it Wendy Davis. Hashtag I stand with Wendy. A guy called me racist for calling him on his white male privilege. One-way ticket to Mars, please. Ha 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 ha! I'm Jewish, but not that Jewish. So, white genocide is people of color having loving consensual sexual relationships with white people? Even our extermination is privileged. It's real cute watching straight white guys try to jump in on the deserved criticism of white women that we get from people of color after every election. Hey fellow white people, instead of going to brunch today, donate what you would have spent on brunch to the NAACP. Yeah, fellow white people, threaten Hawaii with the prospect of less of us showing up. That'll show 'em. My Black Mirror episode is about trans women who legally transitioned right before white women collectively ruined America. It's probably going to be faster if we just list the rich old white men who aren't racist. Done! As a white girl from Ohio, I like this analogy because it makes me a sorcerer, and of course I am, when I'm not a bard. And at Jenny Yang TV, who is just so damn good at putting white people in our place. Hashtag she inspires me. As a queer Jew with an English degree, I often feel conflicted. Poke the racists with a stick and they all come running. Ugly white people have invaded my TL. Hashtag white genocide. Ugh, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, guess what? White self-interest is racism. Period. End of story. Maybe I should add, I'm Jewish and a big Israel supporter. The President of the United States is a white supremacist. Time for media and everyone else to treat him as such. In 2020, white population will fall below 60% for the first time in US history. Trump is rigging census to maintain white supremacy. Fuck white people, I'm ashamed. This is white supremacy. Deporting dreamers, banning Muslims, KKK violence, voter suppression, mass incarceration. Everyone in Trump's admin that normalized white supremacy has blood on their hands today. This includes POTUS, AG senior advisors, hashtag Charlottesville. The biggest white supremacist of all is still the President of the United States. Don't stop at taking down Confederate flags. Restore Voting Rights Act and confront racism. This is what white supremacy looks like. RT at White Skidda, more than a little disturbed about Mel Gibson's role here, but maybe that's just because I'm Jewish. Fellow white dude writers and academics, when you are invited to go to an event, your first question should be about diversity. Make it your own personal. Hashtag inclusion writer. Dear white dude liberals, stop using Trump's election to tell marginalized people to stop discussing identity. Love, fellow white dude. Really hoping that y'all will save America from my fellow white people, to be honest. I'm optimistic that's true, concerned about my fellow white dudes, history of violence and oppression when feeling threatened, of course. Woke up this morning, called out fellow white guy on sexism, suspect am now blocked/muted. I haven't even had coffee yet. Dear fellow white folks, here's how I think it works. First listen, at the end you listen, in the middle we speak, out. Hashtag Ferguson. Your tweet makes no sense. I am white. I write about white privilege a lot. I'm going to mute you now. I'm worried about white people too. We keep doing all this terrible stuff. We should seek some professional help. As a Jewish father of a disabled child and grandson of communists and a historian, let me say a bit here on history. Every day I wake up to another shooting is a day I'm going to say white men don't deserve guns. Are you a Democrat? November 6th fucking vote. Are you a Republican? November 6th, all-day white power Christian gun marathon on Fox News. Hey white people, guess what? We fucking do want to take your guns. I'll never make fun of someone because of what they name their kid. Unless they're white. White people are dicks. Hashtag things I learned from the help. Sometimes I imagine what a white trans lady's vagina must look like and my imaginary penis deflates. Hello, hi. Yes, racism is deplorable, and misogynists are deplorable, and Hillary shouldn't have to apologize for that. Hashtag debate. Hello, we are experts making decisions about vaginas and black people. Me. Happy holidays. Customer. Merry Christmas. Me. Thank you. I'm Jewish. Customer. Happy holidays. Me. Do you need a hug? No one. White people just steal things anyway. Do you know how frustrating it is to have to sit back and watch everything go downhill because some old white people voted for a dried testicle? All of us white people are extremely privileged. I'm heated. Why are white people so annoying? Can we all just go away? It's easy for white people to say I don't see race because we don't have to deal with racism every day. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. White women, we need to do better. For the last time, the Holocaust was not a white genocide. Thank you. Nothing is scarier than old white men. I'm a queer Jew and I'm saying you have no business comparing us. One of them murdered 6 million of us and you're just a prick. Again, my fellow white people, people of color by definition cannot be racist, and reverse racism is not a real thing. I'm gonna need my fellow white women to stop thinking we're the most oppressed of all oppressed people. We aren't. Stop trying to make everything about us. Fellow white people, we do not get to define racism. This should be obvious. This is largely a message for fellow cis heterosexual able-bodied white women and dudes like me. We have to do better. Be better than the ones who came before us. We have to stop making everything about us and instead realize it's about all of us together. Takeaways from tonight. 1. Cis heterosexual white people continue to suck. 2. White men suck more than white women, but white women are still suckety suck enough to suck. 3. Raspberry vodka tastes like Robitussin. I'm in. Fellow white ladies, we have a chance not to be terrible. Let's not be terrible. Hashtag white women out. Hashtag affirm black women. She's not. She's fed up with the general population of white women being generally terrible. She's allowed to make jokes on Twitter about it. You're allowed to be willfully obtuse and reactionary and call her racist about it too. Of course, I just hope she blocked you for it. That's the point she was making. White people have to be the ones standing up to our fellow white people who elected a racist. I'm not Jewish, Yair. People aren't anti-Semitic because anyone is fat or disgraceful. Jewish people aren't to blame for the hate of others. Proud to say that I don't even qualify for membership. Thank you, Jewish and Native American ancestors. Fellow white people, the next time you're about to bring up black on black crime, don't. Instead, just shut the entire fuck up. Forever. Fellow white people, stop confusing hashtag white privilege with hashtag class privilege. Related, yes. The same, no. I mostly hate other whites, but I don't exclude myself from the position of power we hold in a hierarchy of white supremacy. I mean, of course we say fuck Donald Trump, but even more, fuck the system of white supremacy that made him possible. No, fuck him, fuck cops, fuck white supremacists, and especially fuck cops who are white supremacists. Oh, white people, we aren't just predictable, we're the fucking worst. And most of my fucking white friends can't bother to stand up against it, to take this oppression seriously. Fuck, I'm mad. We all should be. Dear fellow cis heterosexual white male Twitter users, literally nobody owes you a conversation on here, ever. I've always been an atheist. I'm Jewish by ethnicity, which can seem at odds with my atheism, but there are lots of atheist Jews. Today's dose of inspiration and a project worth following. We should not see our era of resurgent white nationalism as the racist end, but the anti-racist beginning. Good things happen, but still, my overall election takeaways. 1. Abolish the Senate, it's anti-democratic. 2. Voting rights, ending voter suppression, making voting fast and easy for everyone, our top priority. 3. White people, writ large, are the problem. So proud of JVPDC Metro, which is showing up when it counts to fight white supremacy as part of a broad anti-fascist front with Shut It Down DC this weekend, hashtag safety through solidarity. Rooting out the deep institutional racism within the very foundation of American law enforcement requires digging in very deeply here at home, and lessons from an occupying army are not going to help. Great piece, why we need to end the hashtag deadly exchange. White friends, let's resolve not to be the people sitting and watching and not doing anything. Declarations of solidarity are for these moments. While the decree allows children to be jailed with their parents, it still greenlights incarceration of entire families, calls for more immigrant detention centers, and reinforces institutions that oversaw child separation. Hashtag abolish ICE. So apparently racism, sexism, anti-Semitism, and homophobia are just fine. Executive Director, Jewish Voice for Peace. Israel/Palestine, racial and economic justice. Kids and the dog too. White people are awful. Like we really are the worst. Dude, I am white people and I'm sick of white people's shit. I just learned that my ancestors were Jewish. White person feels oppressed when asked to follow actual rules everybody else has to comply with is a pretty succinct definition of privilege. All the angry white men, where did they all come from? It's so hard to be a white male these days. You have no idea what that's like. Fear someone thinks I'm serious. What is the point of being a white male if I can't make every issue about me, Lisa? White men oppressed again. This is a lot of information and history for us poor white men to have to remember. Widespread voter fraud is a comforting lie for those who want apartheid without having acknowledged their own racism. Almost everything in American history is inextricably bound up with racism/slavery. Yes, my dad is Jewish, and I have the last name Harris from him, so I am like a stealth ninja to the morons. One big problem which I've been whining about for years is that Hollywood pulled its head out of its butt in terms of diversity/inclusivity right as theatrical moviegoing ceased to be a casual entertainment option. They were a decade too late due to tentpole fever. Hashtag Independence Day celebrated America's diversity in a positive fashion and argued that our melting pot was a strength rather than a weakness. Hashtag Star Wars fans shouldn't have to choose between gender parity and ethnic diversity. On hashtag Power Rangers and why its on-screen diversity matters. White privilege is me being outraged and angered by the hashtag Ferguson decision rather than utterly terrified. Artistically, I would love to see some more diversity in content and demographics, but that's not where we are yet. This is for another day, but I would argue that every not white race ages better than white people, which is why Hollywood racism and the desires for youthful sex appeal contradict each other. Random example, Salma Hayek still looks as she did in Desperado. Disney's hashtag Moana is proof you don't need white male heroes for blockbusters. Hashtag box office. I'm Jewish, so no. Dear fellow white people, please read this before quoting MLK, especially to people of color, and talking about our respect for him. Dear fellow white people, it's not that you're racist, you just hate when someone tries to make you care about racism. Please read the text. As a fellow white person, I didn't understand for most of my life. Broadening perspective and reading changed that. For anyone, especially fellow white folks, that question the abundance of racism and ignorance, please see my Facebook/Instagram comments. Time for white folks to stand up for racial justice. Hashtag white people for black lives. Hashtag Black Lives Matter. White folks, stop telling black folks that not all white people are racist and start proving it by showing up/organizing to dismantle racism. If every white person who tweets hashtag Black Lives Matter woke up tomorrow and took consistent actions to end racism, we would be much closer. White folks in Los Angeles, we must organize if we want racial justice. Come out Sunday. Take it to the next level and show up if you are able. Oh my God, you're Jewish? My mom is, so technically I am. White people, all of us, need a serious timeout. Can we have a ban on white people taking up space with our feelings about being correctly called racist? Hey fellow white people, just a reminder that our entire existence is maintained through endless affirmative action. If you're a white person having to do an interview on national television to say you're not racist, then you're definitely racist. I also know this because all white people are racist. We are taught to be racist and have to spend our lives unlearning it and actively working to dismantle it. In a state that has organized itself to disenfranchise black voters still found a way. Hey fellow white people, we still suck. Maybe the experiment of white people and men being in charge should come to a long overdue end. Hey fellow white people, here's a thought. Talk to your kids about racism, white supremacy, and power. If we held ourselves and our children accountable for our destructive behavior, we would be living in a different world. All white people perpetuate white supremacy. I reflect on my role in that system and our flawed legal heroes. Hashtag white supremacy. This queer/trans Jewish person has received so much love and support from Muslim friends, family, and fellow queers. I send so much love and solidarity out to all my Muslim friends. Hashtag love a Muslim. I'm racist against white people. I'm a white person. Yes, I like the witchy aesthetic too, but that's all it is, and all it can be. So to my fellow white witchy people, if someone tells you that your practice is cultural appropriation and is hurting them, there's no reason to defend or continue it. Just do something else. This is why I'm opposed to any concept of spirituality or sacredness. It's just an excuse for colonialism for my fellow white people. I'm not going to criticize indigenous people who want to pursue these things because they can do so without harming their communities, but we can't. Also, as white women, we need to think about how the strange men we're told to be afraid of are racialized. Like, who are you imagining when you think about someone breaking into your house? The stereotypical image of a criminal in the US and Brazil isn't white. Okay, well, I can tell you that racism in Brazil is normal and generalized behavior, even though plenty of my fellow white Brazilians will swear that it's not, and denying the problem doesn't solve anything. Please leave me alone now. She's not preventing anyone from speaking their mind. She's commenting on how completely over the top and ridiculous that tweet is. Also, we live in a world where white women are usually the ones preventing black women from speaking their minds. So, hi, I'm Jewish, and you're fine. Gentle reminder to my fellow white people that we have all been raised to behave like complete sociopaths. I would rather die than leave, and they want me to love Nazis. Twitter, I can't. It's the first rule of America, and I was raised Orthodox Jewish. This is a terrible idea. The entire world is white people's safe space. Good choice of picture considering who saved America from having a racist pedophile in Senate. White people choose the pedophile 70 to 27. Shame. Yes, by ignoring your white privilege and dismissing an eminent black thought leader who knows way more than you. White high school dropouts wealthier than black college graduates. The power of institutional white supremacy. Demand extreme vetting for all white men. Stop it, you're embarrassing yourselves with your ignorance and helping sustain white supremacy. Listen more. All children in the US are entitled to a free public education, regardless of their place of birth or immigration status. Hashtag save DACA. First imagine thinking this, then imagine thinking it was okay to tweet. White supremacy is everywhere. As a Jewish supporter of Keith Ellison, I think they're right that his criticism of Israel hurt his bid. Fellow white people really need to pipe the fuck down about this cover change. Shut up. Every day I try to remember I should be proud of myself for sharing my truths. I'm a fat, Jewish, queer, airways poet, and I have much more to write. Let's be honest. It's not that white people are especially dedicated to following rules ourselves. We know they don't apply to us. Any obsession we have with rules is squarely focused on those people. Not one person has villainized white boys. It's painfully ironic that you're centering around them and their feelings in a discussion about bringing other voices and experiences into the light. Exactly. It is our responsibility as white people to acknowledge our white privilege and call it out every single time, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. I was and am 100% confident that had it gone differently, my explanation would have been accepted with no further consequences. It didn't occur to me for decades that confidence was pure white privilege, as is the fact that I never reflected more deeply about it. Had I heard the term white privilege back then, I might have scoffed at the idea. Everybody I met or knew or even saw was white, and the otherness I was aware of was based on factors other than race. Still, I remember clearly my own first experience of racism. It's been only a matter of years that I've understood that so-called colorblindness is its own sort of racism. In refusing to consider the experiences of people of color as legitimately different from mine, I was, at the very least, passively complicit in reinforcing white supremacy. Many points here that I have never considered. As usual, however, I'm left uncertain about what I, as a white feminist, ought to do. I'm a human being and I'll go ahead and state the obvious. Donald Trump is a white supremacist. Hashtag stand with Jamel. White people. We were the first illegal immigrants. Don't forget that. I'm not white. I'm Jewish. Most white people are in complete denial about their biases. He will use today to inflame the crowd. Watch for white people rioting after he speaks. Fellow white people, please note the following accurate definition of racism. Thank you. I personally have lost any desires to defend other white people in this country. Despite popular perception, it's not white males that are the only problem. It's white people. Looking at you, fellow white men. White people need to wake up. I and others like me are doing our best to help. I play the race card with white men because, wait for it, I'm a white man. But go ahead, you're totally exposing yourself as proving my point for me. If you're talking with me, I'm Jewish, so watch your step. Trump, Coulter, and Palin, they make me hate white people as much as they hate black people. Being a Jew, I celebrate Easter the only way I know, plot to kill my gardener, Jesus. Your annual reminder, fellow white people. Hey, fellow white people, how about instead of telling black people how to protest, we work to make the protests unnecessary? Ugh, facepalm, fellow white people. Fellow white people, let's be honest, there's nothing in our lives comparable and deserve has nothing to do with it. When white people continue to benefit from past injustices, and we do, there's tons of evidence, present-day equality is our responsibility. We white people have got to be better people, better citizens, and better jurors. I mean, I grew up Jewish, the Temple Book Fair sold his books. From the photos, I still thought he was black for years. You always wonder who the 32% is who still support Trump in polls. Now we know. Nazis, KKK, white supremacists. Denounce white supremacy, Nazi scum, loudly, often, or we will be engulfed in it before you know. Listening to hashtag Roy Moore child molester white women supporters is like watching The Help. The ignorance is unbelievable. This is not America, this is white supremacy. Hashtag White Lives Matter is an excuse for Nazis to parade around and spew hate. Yeah, it's safe to call Republicans Nazis now. No matter how many photo ops he does, he still stated there were fine people among the Nazis. Hashtag never forget. Step down or admit you support white supremacist Nazis. Hashtag I am the resistance. I am a wife, career woman, mother to an incredible special needs child, and proud Jew in an interfaith marriage. I resist tyranny, authoritarians, sexual assaulting, white supremacists, Nazi racists. Girl, I'm not convinced young people will save us. According to various studies, white millennials are as racist and sexist as white boomers. All ethno-nationalism is a scourge that should be wiped out. That's a dangerous takeaway. There are more than a few white supremacists. There are white nationalists in the White House. Racism hasn't gone away. It elected Donald Trump and still props him up. Melania is not a victim. White women who benefit from proximity to white male supremacy have been propping it up since the dawn of time. Why do people seem so desperate to believe she's good? Young white people showed up for Republicans because they're just as racist and sexist as old white people. Nobody said wipe them out. I said nationalism should be wiped out, as in the ideology. Reading comprehension is so important. Gee, I wonder what else you've misunderstood. Are you familiar with how dangerous in an immediate life/death shot by a cop baby is in a cage sense white nationalism is to people who aren't white guys? Nationalism always starts with rallies and economic blame slurs like neo-lib and globalist, but in the end, you always mean Jew. Bitch, I'm Jewish. Stop speaking for me or about Jewish people. Keep your racist garbage inside your trash self for one day. You're against the state of Israel, so you're anti-Jewish state. Same logic. Which is why I called you a neo-Nazi, and I'm glad you see it now too. Hashtag Fresno, white Christians shoot innocent people every day. Hashtag Allahu Akbar. Hashtag Women's March. We do not want a white supremacist in our White House. It's the people's house. All the people. Hashtag NYC Women's March. Hashtag Resist. Was a white power rally aired on national TV. These people are potential Nazis. I'm so tired of listening to old white men. Hashtag 11th hour. Hashtag last word. White men destroying the environment? Shocker. Hashtag Paris Agreement. Hashtag Paris Climate Deal. Hashtag Paris Accord. Hashtag We Won't Go Back. Hashtag I Stand with PP. White men do not get to decide anymore. Fuck you. Hashtag Dominionist Woman Hating White Supremacist. Hashtag Nazi Pence. I'm more afraid of single white men than terrorists. I'm Jewish, asshole. I mean, that's what much of this is about. There's more and more non-white people being born, and eventually white people will only be, gasp, a plurality in the US instead of the majority. Some are scared shitless that they're gonna be subject to the same treatment. The very factors which made this so winnable, Trump is a racist, misogynistic, xenophobic, moron, asshole, etc., were only possible for the same reasons which made it so losable. First female nominee following 2 terms of the first black president, white people threw a tantrum. That's really what this is all about. After all, a bunch of scared racist white people saw the demographic trend writing on the wall and freaked the fuck out. They can't accept it, so they're trying to stop it by cutting off immigration, suppressing the vote, etc., etc. That's great. But take a look at silent generation, which I assume are pre-boomers. An increasing number appear to be scared shitless of white people becoming a minority. Depressing. That's really what this is all about. After all, straight white Christian men have called the shots forever, and now you're scared of death. Yup, this is all part of the national Trump tantrum in 2016. Old white people are freaking the hell out that they're no longer or soon will no longer be, at the top of the food chain, so they panicked and elected a racist, misogynistic, xenophobic moron. White Christian men have generally been the ones doing the oppressing historically, so they have the least right to presume jack shit. Breaking, many white men angry that white men no longer control everything. Dear white people, as a Jew, we're sometimes characterized as white, sometimes not. I think I speak for most non-whites when I say that they don't want to imprison or slaughter you in revenge. They just want you to stop being dicks to them. Just a friendly reminder that when white people shoot up something and kill many people, that's terrorism. I don't understand white people. If Native Americans from centuries ago came to the present in a time machine, I'd love to ask them what they think of the current white rage. Trump's new chief White House strategist. That's Joseph Goebbels, by the way, that's based. I Love Cube and Simone Sanders on white privilege, real time with Bill Maher, HBO. Trump is very American. Not all, but a very dark and real side of America. It's part of us. Appearances over substance. Fame mistaken for competence. Blame, violence, racism, sexism, classism, xenophobe. Superiority complex. Liar. Charlatan. Grotesque glutton. Bully. Sad but true. Racism and classism is alive and well in America. Hey America, did you think as a nation we had moved beyond racism, sexism, classism? We're not. I'm Jewish and completely do the reverse. His white male privilege is hurt more than anything. Old white guys, how yawn. Hashtag I'm with her. An apology from this white woman on behalf of those who get it. Thin, white, and blonde, it's infuriating. As long as a person of color or a woman is not in the White House and a white male is POTUS, the GOP base is happy to be deaf, dumb, and blind. White privilege right here, she's so voted for 45. This needs to be your whole show tomorrow, full stop, and every single member of the GOP needs to be asked about white supremacy, forever. These old white privileged men who really should be retired in Palm Beach are ruining this country and they don't care. I'm Jewish and I agree totally. I hate white people. I hate white people all the time too. I'm Jewish. Pro tip for white people, if you don't understand the race card, perhaps try listening. Hashtag the Bachelorette. PSA for fellow white ladies, maybe just don't write a listicle about being Beck with the good hair. Fellow white people, this is a hashtag to watch and learn from. Hashtag black women at work. No time for a candidate who is worried about discrimination against white people. Hashtag Dem debate. Safety will be restored for straight, white, cisgender Christian men. Hashtag RNC in CLE. White women, we should all take a cue from the Adele hashtag Grammys handbook and use our privilege to call out BS. Yup, white women, let's get our shit together. We white women have some work to do. Listen to black women seems like a good start. Pre-gaming hashtag Thanksgiving with a white fish bagel because I'm staying true to my Eastern European Jewish roots. Golf, like Trump, is tedious, endless, boring, loved by white men, and never seems to end while it's unfolding. Why won't she debate me? Twitter is the most mediocre group of pathetic white men on the website. White adult men wearing large backpacks on a subway during rush hour should be arrested. A nation of 325 million people founded by immigrants freaking out over a few thousand people legally seeking asylum. How pathetic. White supremacy is one hell of a drug. White insecure men are really embarrassing the country these days. White men between the ages of 50 and 64 should probably all be taken out of any and all positions of power. Yeah, why is anyone still being cute about this? He's a shithead racist white supremacist. The more we say it, the better. He still hasn't gone away, huh? A cult of personality around a fucking white man is how we're in this mess. I'm Jewish, and it's a mitzvah to feed the hungry, anyone who is hungry anywhere. Full stop. Hey media, if you need to help recognize when white cis straight men are heinous despite having cool hair, a lot of women have years of experience. A cool thing about America is white men are children until proven otherwise, and they are not really rallying around proving that ever. This is terrifying. The underlying boys will be boys rhetoric is terrifying. The radicalization of young white men is terrifying. P's are like straight white men in that they believe they belong and should feel comfortable in all spaces. What the fuck are we going to do about white women though? Happy, not just white, Women's History Month. Good morning and fuck the abusive fascist police system that terrorizes citizens in the name and with the tacit support of white people. I talked back to 3 white women this week for defending Kavanaugh/questioning Dr. Ford, and trust me, there are many more I'm still gathering the courage and the words for. I feel betrayed by white women. I feel unprotected by white women. I feel humiliated by white women. Shana Tova. So whatever, I am like an 8th Jewish, and sometimes my Jewisher friends like to tease me. Fellow white ladies, say it with me. Internalized misogyny upholds white supremacy, and we along with white men have got to stop erasing women of color. White men should be profiled. Fellow white folks, we should probably listen to this, and personally, I'm tired of white men right now. Well-meaning white people still uphold white supremacy, even if they see themselves as anti-racist. It touches on unconscious dehumanization of others by people who think themselves above that. It shows how what we sacrifice isn't damaging ourselves. Hashtag together against extremism. Stop the violent radicalization of white men. Thanks. I think a lot of white fragility comes from being afraid to see that we could possibly become part of the problem. Everyone wants to help, and unfortunately I think people would prefer to do that sans introspection. Is there a more dangerous cocktail in our country than the mix of toxic masculinity with white supremacy? Investigate all white men before letting them buy guns. I'm a ginger, so actually, I'm Jewish, so I'd probably be D, getting the hell out of said Western country. White people do nothing but wound and exploit and willfully ignore indigenous Americans when they are called out. They are the victims. Maybe white people, especially white male politicians like Socialist Grandpa, should stop telling what they think is important and listen. We need men to see it from a female point of view. We need white people to see things from a view of people of color. Get it? Tell me again at Women's March, at Ocasio 2018, at Bernie Sanders, as you stump for white men over women of color, what the fuck your problem is at Emily's list? White supremacist Christian nativism, i.e. racism, not economic anxiety. What some cracker does in Georgia does not bestow the obligation to accept vile, dehumanizing, dangerous lies and conspiracies. Tell me how anti-Semitism helps liberate anyone, or cleanses the world of racism or white supremacy. Reparations are about truth, about white supremacy, and about a genocidal economic system of terror and torture. Reparations are about truth. Reparations rebuke the lie of genteel plantation culture, an emasculating and maternalizing assault on human suffering and exploitation. I thought Hillary spoke powerfully about institutionalized systemic racism and white privilege. Why should a safe space be required for truth-telling? As the Jewish parent of a Jewish trans child, I appreciate this, Katie, but wonder why you support diluting an all lives mattering resolution condemning anti-Semitism and said anti-Semitism resolution would be reactionary. Why just LGBTQI rights here then? You disappoint me. Vote for me because at David Frum is wrong and a 50% cut legal immigration would be a terrible idea, sharply cutting the incomes of hundreds of thousands of foreigners in order to slight cut the incomes of most natives for no good reason. Here is Pew on America's political priorities. A crackdown on immigration will make many of these main problems worse, while smart expansions of immigrations could be a big help with several of them. Time is running out, folks. I acknowledge that Noah had a great run as chief shill, but it's time to pass the torch to a new generation. We need taco trucks on every corner and a hemispheric system of open borders and free trade. Currently reading Ad K. Clousing's great new book, Open, the progressive case for free trade, immigration, and global capital, which you can think of as an urgent plea to pay attention to the actual drivers of inequality rather than blaming foreigners. Achieving 1 billion Americans through a mix of openness to immigration plus much greater public support for families with children sounds like a nice idea to me. Progressive America needs a rogue billionaire to sponsor the construction of a few cities in Montana and the Dakotas to level the Senate playing field. Wouldn't take too many new residents to swing low population stages. I'm Jewish and I believe Nate is too. Did you see her bogus non-apology? I hate mediocre white people who are proud of their shitty behavior. Because reading is healthy, good for the brain, etc., however, white people need a firm understanding how much they privilege from a system. Ready to leave the fair and get away from all these white people. Fuck you, George Zimmerman, fuck white privilege, and fuck the white people who deny its existence. Eat shit, white supremacist fuck clown. Fuck white privilege, we need to be over this shit. Fuck these white devils and their laws. When watching an old western, I always find myself rooting for the Indian. Kill that awful white man, chief. Fuck all the Nazi pieces of shit and cowardly centrists, both sides douchebags, eat my Jewish ass. Is it me, or are white people really annoying? The real question is, why do white people feel this primal need to use black people as props in their self-image making? The freedom most subsidized race in America? The most subsidized race in America? No, I'm sorry, that would be white people. The sole answer to this is to overturn white supremacy. One thing we do know, America is not already great. We have this culture of poverty, nonsense to justify persistent racial achievement gaps, but no, it's white people screwing everyone else. It's amazing how desperate white people are to excuse and sanitize white people. My God, the white people, it burns. Speaking of glue, the white supremacy is the glue holding Trump's voters and GOP together. As a Jew, I do not think Bernie Sanders is too Jewish because that's nonsense. Dear white people, not everyone south of Houston is Mexican. There are quite a few other countries down here. Buy a map. Tucker is a white nationalist, bigoted, racist, scum-sucking piece of filth. Very white crowd, all sharing the same genes. 500 people, 7 teeth. There's going to be a bunch of reports of fat white men in red hats with chewing tobacco stains on their shirts hassling brown people outside polling stations. I'm white, you absolutely insane muppet. I'm white, not an immigrant, and not in the media. You belong here as much as I do, which is 100%. White identity movement. Nazis. I thought you hated political correctness. Call yourselves Nazis like big boys. Don't forget the lynchings, the slavery, the... You know what? Never mind. You are just like Trump. Brown/black people aren't allowed to do what you white folk do in your mind. They should just shut up and accept it. Right, Joe? I'm Jewish, you twit. I was born in a Jewish family and still consider myself Jewish by heritage. Racial slavery is a form of racism. A less extreme form is structural racism that demands black people be twice as good to get half of white people to get and make white people think, even then, they're undeserving and blame Jews for them getting it. White people need to recognize their racism and do something about it. If they can't, they gotta consciously suppress the self-defense impulse, even if it gets them killed or gets a new line of work. This is inexcusable. Except for, the white people shooting down brown and black kids talking about how violence affects them with "Let Us March" and changing "Our Lives Matter" to "All Lives Matter," those people need ridicule. White supremacy is structural and actively oppresses the racially marginalized. The vast majority of white people passively contribute to racism, even intended allies via unthinkingly contributing to racist dynamics like Warren here. These dynamics hurt Native folks. Who cares? What's so important about America being a white majority? Your assertion is intellectually dishonest because the term anti-Semitism has nothing to do with Palestinians. You're using the component pieces of the word to defend a nearly global system of oppression that's lasted for thousands of years and mostly perpetuated by white people. It's almost like he's afraid that he'll get treated like white people have been treating people of color and other racially marginalized groups for centuries. K. Pretty sure ethnocide is forced extermination or relocation, not natural demographic shifts so the majority. 1 month until the release of At Moses Bread 72 Things That Make White People Uncomfortable. If the title makes you laugh, this book is for you. If it makes you mad, this book is definitely for you. If you're a white person and you say, "I hate the N-word," whether white people say it or black people, then you also need to check yourself. Headlines can kill nuance. As I write, there have been white female athletes that have stood up. Men gotta step up. Trump reserves his modest, disgusting, violent bile for black people who challenge his racism. He's a white supremacist. It's not complicated. I know building an immigrants' rights movement is the most urgent task. I sure as hell know the Democrats aren't going to do this for us. And if ICE and DHS have their run of Los Angeles, hundreds of immigrant families will bear the burden. It'll be a horror show. Just talking racism, white supremacy, and the NFL on sports radio WEEI in Boston. Hashtag surreal as hell. I'm Jewish, homie. And to use this white male privilege voice to talk about how colleges across America fail students every single fucking day, re rape culture. But god damn it, fuck anyone who tells you family is more important than politics when their vote put Trump in the White House. Good grief. Important thread, especially for my fellow white women. This is the worst RT. Things like this are why folks shake their head and say, white people. I mean, I don't know. You do you, but I don't have a single straight cis white male friend, and I feel really, really fine about it. Basically, I plan to say I'm Jewish and queer, and feel really happy/okay being both. You're all beautiful. This should be fine, yes? Hashtag queer Jew. Look, I'm not moving anywhere. I'm here to dismantle the patriarchy, tear down white supremacy, and love my peeps best as I can. Hashtag long haul. Happy holiday weekends, white folks, especially my fellow suburbanites. This is a great time to take a second and think about what you can do instead of calling the cops when someone acts like a dumbass at the park or parade or BBQ this weekend. I know I need to be more proactive about challenging the professional organizations I pay dollars to step up in all these ways. Fellow white cis women, I'm asking you to be proactive as well, and please, no more ladies. This is a very good thread for us hashtag white people. Changing conditioning is active work. Because she's a woman, dummy, and old white men in power hate women in power. And those of us white folks, including me, are complicit. For many white women, their internalized white supremacy and racism takes primacy over solidarity with other women. White women supremacy, especially for cis women, is baked into the way we were acculturated. We have to turn our critical eyes inward. Hashtag bi, cis woman, married to a man. Still queer, scientist, nature lover, Jew. I have strong, gorgeous, furry legs. Hashtag queer self-love. A month or two after the November 2016 disaster, I went on one of those knock-every-door precinct walks. It was a waste of time. I spent the whole day listening to white people standing in front of their McMansions pontificating about how the immigrant hordes were out to get them. 3 words: white, male, privilege. Amen, RT at Sean King to Trump and Pence. Strength equals toxic white masculinity. RT at Think Mexican. All this talk about radical Islam, no mention of white supremacists walking around with assault rifles. Hashtag Dem debate. RT at UFE. The hashtag RT at UFE. The hashtag state of the dream, white families have over 6 times more wealth than black and Latino families. Hashtag MLK Day. White anxiety is as complicit as it is toxic. At Centronic speaks about Trump's rise at hashtag J18, hashtag Teach, Organize, Resist. Yes, exactly, just as Trump himself is the symptom and not the disease is white supremacy / xenophobia / misogyny. And now we turn to the immigrant-hating portion of the evening. Delegates chant, "Build the wall." Terrifying. Hashtag RNC and CLE. Thank you, kind stranger. I am a Jewish girl, albeit married to a Catholic, so sometimes I need a brief tutorial on these kinds of things. Hashtag resist. Well, white people don't really get to decide what's bad or problematic to people of color. I don't hate white people, I hate the system that favors us over people of color simply because of melanin difference. The US was built on genocide and slave labor. It's entirely feasible that white supremacy played a role. You might want to do some research on this. Racism is a systematic issue. It's more than just the shallow dictionary definition. Racism looks different in different areas of the world. But in the US, white folks most certainly do not face racism. I agree. I try to be as intersectional as I can in my feminism to abolish the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. It is, though. All white folks benefit from this system and are thus complicit in it. Wearing red to say fuck your white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. Happy hashtag International Women's Day. Down with the white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. Hi, please DM me. I'm a queer Jewish woman who writes for sites like @Gay Star News and @Hey Alma. Would love to be on your press list. A black woman calls you out for racism, so you threaten her parents. Good job, white people, making people demonstrably unsafe. Love y'all. Hey, that's why I'm scared of white people. And if the demographics of the US go the way it's projected, with non-Hispanic whites losing their majority in populations, this nation will be built on white supremacy and people of color will be oppressed. You're grasping at straws. Denying your white privilege is a sick way to deflect the responsibility you have to think about your actions towards people of color. I worked at Subway. Mega Hat Dude asked for pepper. I reached for the green pepper bells. The black pepper, nigger. Can't you people do anything right? Nothing like some good old-fashioned racism. Can we stop saying horrible things done by this administration are un-American? This country was founded on the genocide of one people and the enslavement of another. Racism, kidnapping, and cruelty seem very on brand. And racists deserve hell. Hope you're enjoying it. Non-black people don't get to decide what is anti-black racism, just as Goyim don't get to decide what is anti-Semitism. The problem with having so many intersecting identities, black, Jewish, bisexual, is that I never know why each cis heterosexual white goy hates me. Is it because I'm a Negro? Is it because I'm a dirty Jew? Is it because I'm a fucking queer? Is it some insidious combination of the three? Using hashtag digital tools to build community, support hashtag activism, and enhance hashtag spiritual life, hashtag author, hashtag artist, Hashtag sociologist. See hashtag artwork. Hey, my Jewish Brooklyn-born mother used to say, Oy vey Maria all the time. Meanwhile, all you white women evangelicals get an awakening about spiritualizing the evils of bigotry and hatred. Stop making Jesus weep and barf. Trump is yet another white male terrorist, except he's old and slightly orange. Enjoyed to see men congratulating each other with hugs and kisses. Seriously, get a clue, white guys. What percent are young, angry, delusional white men? Heck, I'm grossly overeducated white women who works around the industry, and I'm afraid of hashtag HCR systems, hashtag HPM. Oh look, another white guy terrorist. Sad to see the history and culture of our great country being ripped apart by you and your white nationalist regime. Hashtag resign now. Hashtag did you know you're complicit in the continued regime of the GOP president who hires Nazis and supports white supremacists? Your tweet about the dead, mostly white, mostly male sociologists made me laugh out loud. Thank you. White people don't get to dictate to black people what is or isn't racist. Gentiles don't get to dictate to Jews what is or isn't anti-Semitic. Pretty simple formula here. Stay in your lane and listen to Jews when you're called out for anti-Semitism. You do not get to argue with us. I never once diminished the fact that black people were brought here as chattel and beaten and raped, murdered, and terrorized and continue to be terrorized to this day by white people. I think you need to be careful about depicting a neighborhood as becoming better because white people are moving in. People of color aren't a monolith and can choose whatever they want to choose, however misguided I might think it is. White people, same thing. But I will agree to disagree since you haven't talked to most Trump supporters. I maintain the majority are white nationalists. White people and white passing people have advantages in life that black people don't have. We're not automatically killed by police. We're not followed around stores. Recognizing this doesn't separate us, but pretending this isn't happening to our black brothers and sisters does. White identity is racism. The only white people prancing around with white identity are racists, usually accompanied with swastikas and Confederate battle flags. There is no white tribe, though. There is nothing binding white people with other white people other than whiteness and supremacy, which has no cultural significance. There is no white culture. White women have used their tears to escape accountability. People of color, and in turn, have put people of color in danger by doing so. Suzanne Smith is a good example. Fictional black men stole her kids, meanwhile she murdered them. This isn't the same as white women expressing hurt. A person of color, though. I'm not white, I'm Jewish. We've had several genocides against us. Seems to be ramping up for another based on far left and far right anti-Semitism. Good thing we have Israel now. At least we have a safe haven.
Not trying to be a prophet, but he who parted the sea is a part of me. And when I look in my heart, I see the same mystery. And I know that we share the same history. Yeah, Hebrew is the language of G-D. So silently I know he walks with me like an OG. I'm G'd up, I'm G-D'd up. I'm a read up with my feet up. Sabbath is just practice till we all get freed up. So please plant your seeds up. Israel's the bride and the groom's inside. And when I'm staring at the